Hashem, Parachat Behar. So this week's parasha is going to speak about the mitzvah of Shemitah, right? And there's also consequences if somebody doesn't keep Shemitah. So Shemitah basically is only Eretz Israel, right? When you come to the land of Israel, ki tavo la'aretz, v'shaveta Shabbat Lashem, you work the land 6 years, and the 7th year Shabbat Lashem, right? So it's not a mitzvah that's noeg b'kol makom, everywhere. It's a mitzvah that's only in Eretz Israel, nachon? But this mitzvah is so important. So the last Rashi in the parasha, brings down consequences. Im echad lo shomer shmita, right? He's going to have to sell his house. He's going to have to sell his field. He's going to malveh beribit. Ad sheyimacher betor eved. He's going to be sold as a slave. There's a lot of consequences. So important it is, right? And we see also Rashi brings down Am Yisrael was thrown out of Eretz Israel because of they didn't keep shmita. Right? So it's a very, very important mitzvah. But there's a very important concept also, point in the mitzvah of Shmita, inside the mitzvah of Shmita, okay? So let's, before explaining the concept, let's say it like this. Shlomo Melech Omer, he says, Oev kesef, lo yizba kesef. If you love money, you're never going to be happy with money. Yesh lo mea, rotze matayim. You have $100, you want $200. You have 200, you want 400, right? En sof. There's no end how much a person would want, right? There's a famous story in the Gemara, right? The first story in the Gemara, that Alexander Mogdon, right? He reached Sha'arei Gan Eden HaTachton, and they gave him a present, and they gave him like a ball, kadur, and he didn't know what to do with it. The Chachamim explained to him, this kadur, this ball, is the ball of the eye. So he tried to measure it. He couldn't measure it. He put gold. It always was debalancing the gold, the silver, everything. The Chachmei Israel told him, put a little bit of sand, and you're going to see how it works. He put a little bit of sand, one coin, he balanced the whole thing. What shot? The eye always wants. You want. And so, how much you want, right? Oev kesef lo yizba kesef. The thing is, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu created such a concept in us, Oev kesef lo yizba kesef, right? This concept should be used in Torah. Whatever Hashem created is to be used in Torah. Kin'ah, somebody's jealous, right? Kin'at chochmim, sofrim tarbe chochma, right? Whatever hate, hatred, you're not supposed to hate somebody, but it exists. David HaMelech says, Ki mesan'echa Hashem esna. Whoever hates Torah, it's a mitzvah to hate him, right? So all the midot, right, that Hashem created is to use for Torah. So if Hashem created such a midah called Oev kesef lo yizba kesef, it's for us to use. In what way? So I want to show you in this week's parasha, right? It says, Ki tavo el haaretz asher anoten lachem v'shavta haaretz Shabbat Lashem. The Rambam, in Pirush HaMishnayot, writes the following thing. He says, Madua sider Rabbi Yehuda Anasi HaKadosh et Masechet Shvi'it achar Masechet Kil'aim velo et Orla lachar Masechet Kil'aim. When Rabbi Yehuda HaKadosh was Meseder Seder Zraim, right? So the laws of the land, right? He was Meseder. So he started with Kil'aim. You're not supposed to mix, right, the land with two different grains. You cannot put chita and grapes, right? You're not supposed to work the land, right? When you want to plow the land, you're not supposed to shor vechamor. You're not supposed to use an ox and a donkey together. So all the Masechet Kil'aim that he used, Rabbeinu HaKadosh, right after that, he was Mesader Masechet Shvi'it, right? Normally, Lefi HaSeder, according to the Seder of the Torah, he should have set Masechet Orla, right? When you plant a tree, right? Now you're speaking before how to plow, how to not to mix Zraim, right? After plowing, what comes? After plowing comes the growth, whatever grew. Now that it grew, there's the laws of trees, there's the laws of vegetables. By trees there's Orla, by vegetables there's no Orla, right? So Rabbeinu HaKadosh, right? Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, the Rambam asking, should have been Mesader the laws differently. Answers the Rambam, he says, you know why Shvi'it, the laws of sabbatical year of Mitzvah Shvi'it, comes after the laws of Kilayim? He says because Orla Not everybody can you apply the mitzvah of Orla. So the Rambam put the Masechet Shvi'it, which is more practical than Masechet Orla, which is not as practical, because not everybody has a tree. Not everybody plants a tree. But when you have a land, every 7 years comes Shvi'it, right? So the Mefarshim are asking, what do you mean? But not everybody has a piece of land. You don't have a tree because you cannot do Orla. But not everybody, some people are businessmen, and not everybody has a thing. So this comes out to be the same thing. If you're telling me the reason Orla, right, is not so practical, Shvit is also not so practical. Chutz la'aretz is not practical, right? So you should have misader al pi seder Torah. So they bring down, it's called Rabbi Shimon Mekarimona. He brings down a Kli Yakar. The Kli Yakar brings down a Gemara in Brachot, Daf Lamed Hey, 35b. The Gemara says the following thing. Amar Rava letalmidav. Rava is telling his students, Bematuta minaychu, I'm begging you, I'm asking you, don't come to learn in the yeshiva, lo beyomei Nisan, velo beyomei Tishrei. I don't want you to come the full month of Tishrei and the full month of Nisan. Don't come to learn. Okay? Why? Take care of your business. What's their business? The field, right? If you're going to sit and learn, you're going to always think about your business. So take 2 months of a year, right? Each month, 6 months apart from the other one, Tishrei. Take care of the business of Tishrei. Once you set your business, for 6 months come to learn, right? Then on the 6th month, Nisan, right? Go take care of your business. Once you set your business is working, come back for 6 months again, right? So he begged them. So they say, Rashi explains in the Gemara, Yemei Nisan em yemei hakatzir, v'yemei Tishrei em drichat agitot v'abadim. Nisan time, you have to cut the wheat that grew. Tishrei time is the time to make wine and to make oil. Once you cut your wheat and you give it to your workers to work, right? And once you prepared your wine and your oil, you're okay. Now you can sit and learn. Now you have no worries. You know that you have your parnasah for 6 months. You're going to get your paycheck. That's it. Say the Kli Yakar. But comes out that they were mevatel Torah 2 months out of a year. In a normal year, we have 12 months. If for 2 months you don't come, means you learn only 10 months out of 12 years. It's okay. Rava asked, Bematuta minai, who is begging his Talmidim. It's okay. Says the Kli Yakar, but it was a chokhmah in this. What was the chokhmah? After 6 years, how much did you lose of months of not studying Torah? 12 months. What do you do the sabbatical year? The sabbatical year, you cannot work the land. So you must come to yeshiva. Once you come to yeshiva, you catch up the year that you lost. This was the chokhmah of Rava, says the Kli Yakar. He was asking them 2 months. Why not 3 months? Why not 4 months? Because he knew they're going to catch up the 2 months they're missing on the 7th year, which is Shnat HaShemitah. Shnat HaShemitah, you cannot touch the land, right? Then you're going to catch up. What do we learn from here? We learn from here that by Torah, there's catching up. You missed a shiur, right? You missed a Dvar Torah, you missed something? Try to catch it up. Don't say, oh, I missed it. So what if you missed it? You have to catch it. We're going to speak soon about it, okay? Now they explained, now it's metaretz, now it's answering why Rabbeinu HaKadosh, which is Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, why was he mesader Shevi'it after Kil'aim, Shevi'it, Orla. You know why? Al pi Torah en achanami. Al pi Torah, you have to put Kil'aim after Orla after Kil'aim. But because it's so chaviv mitzvat Shemitah, why? Because by Shemitah you're catching up on limud Torah. So the Rambam didn't go al pi seder Torah and go in the order of the Torah. The Rambam went al pi chavivut. The chavivut, that's so precious, the preciousness of Torah. That's why you put Shvit, because on this year you sit and learn, and after that you'll take care of mitzvah of Kilayim. I want to show you also an interesting thing. I found Rav Mordechai Ezrachi. He says something also interesting in connection with this. Mordechai Ezrachi says that in this week's parasha, there's a mitzvah to release slaves. If you have a slave, if you have Eved Ivri, right? When you get the year Shesh Shanim Ya'avot, Ubashevit Yitzeh Chofshi, right? And when Yovel comes, you have to send them free, right? Ki li bnei Yisrael avadim, avadai hem asher hotzeti otam me'eretz Mitzrayim, ani Adonai Elohechem. The Torah says, you know why you should release your slave? Because Am Yisrael is my slaves. I took them out of Egypt. They were slaves in Egypt, and I took them out of Egypt. So they're basically my slaves. I gave them to you to use, but I'm asking you to free them in certain times of the year. Okay? Amar Rav, so Rav Ezrachi brings down a Gemara in Baba Kama, Kuftet Zayin Amud Bet. Amar Rav, Poel yachol lachzor bo afilu b'chatzei hayom. You hired a worker, and he starts working. 1 o'clock, he's supposed to work till 5 o'clock. 1 o'clock, he tells you, I quit for the day. What do you mean you quit for the day? I hired you for the day. How you quit for the day? Poel yachol lachzor bo afilu b'chatzei hayom. Why? Says the Gemara, Amar Rav, dichtiv, because it says, Ki li bnei Israel avadim. Avadim velo avadim la'avadim. Because bnei Israel avadai, he can quit on you. You are my slave also. So you took him as a slave, but you are my slave. שבלי בני ישראל עבדים ולא עבדים לעבדים. So if he wants to quit, he has a right. All of you are slaves. כך אומר רב. כן? So Rav Ezrachi is asking, what's pshat? He says, because when you make a contract with a worker, you make a contract, you're going to work for me the whole day today, right? I'm going to pay you so and so much, right? Very good. But don't forget, he signed the contract with HaKadosh Baruch Hu just before he signed with you. You're the second person, but the first person he signed with is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So if he wants to quit, he has the right to quit. What do you mean? So what? Every time you have a worker is going to quit on you? How does it work, right? So Rav Ezrachi brings down something interesting. He says, Ayen batargum Yonatan ben Uziel. Look at the Targum Yonatan ben Uziel. He says, he adds mosif mila achat. Okay? Avadai hem ishta'abedun lo'oraiti. Their contract is with the Torah. You have a contract with him, but he has a contract with the Torah, right? So his contract is better than your contract. That's why. If a worker signs a contract with somebody, and then somebody else comes and he signs the contract with him, you cannot have two contracts. Doesn't work, right? You have to go with the first person you signed, right? My contract is first. You know why? Because he signed the contract to Torah. Means what? If he wants to quit in the middle of the day, that's to go to study Torah. Okay? You cannot call it quits. If somebody comes and says, oh, how much you making for the day? You tell him 150 a day. Oh, I'm going to give you 200. Come work for me. He comes to you, he says, hey, listen, I want to quit. Why? He wants to... No, this you cannot quit. You cannot quit. You have a contract with the guy. So what if he's going to give you $200? But you have the contract. It's not. You cannot quit it. Tomorrow go work for somebody else. But today you can't. But if you're telling him, no, you know why I'm quitting? I'm going to yeshiva to study. You're allowed to. Because this contract is with HaKadosh Baruch Hu from Har Sinai. So now he made a contract with you, but he had the contract with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? So the Targum Yonatan says, Ishtabdun lo raiti, they're mishubat to my Torah. So therefore, they can quit on you. Right? So what do you see? That you cannot go against the contract of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You have a shi'abud, right? What do we see from that? What do you see from that? That basically we're meant to sit and learn. We have a contract with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Sometimes you take other jobs. You tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, listen, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I need parnasa, I need that. And that's really the machloket of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and Rabbi Ishmael. Okay? Rabbi Ishmael says, Anek b'ay minat derech eretz. Let them go work if they need parnasa. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, no. How you can work? You have a contract with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? If you're going to start doing that, you're never going to have time to learn Torah. What's going to be with the contract of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? So now we see something nice. Yes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a contract. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is like flexible with you. If you are not on the level of emunah, that Hashem provides you, Hashem is going to give you parnasa, Hashem is giving you whatever you need. If you're not on this level, okay, go find yourself a job. But don't forget one thing. your contract is not finished because you have a chiyuv kviut itim laTorah. You have a chiyuv to still study a day. Let it be 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 15, but it has to be every day on the same time. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling you, I'm okay for you to work somewhere else. You have parnasah, you want to work somewhere, I'm okay with that. But you have to give me your kviut. And what happens if you miss your kviut? Right? What happens if you miss your kviut? So then it says that you cannot give up the kviut. Why? Because Shemitah is a proof. Shemitah was a time to catch up 6 years. Imagine what's this to catch up 6 years of missing studying Torah. A whole year of studying Torah because you missed 6 years the kviut of Torah. For 1 month, for every year, 2 months a year, right? You have to catch up. So let it be like if you're doing Daf Yomi, right? If you do Daf Yomi and you don't catch up, you're missing, right? The same thing. We have to do Daf Yomi HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's the Daf Yomi? Limud Torah. Limud Torah, you have to make sure that every day, lo ya'avor yom, right? And it could happen, right? You had to catch a flight, you're busy, you're a wedding. Sometimes it could happen that you can miss the whole day, right? But let's not forget one thing. You missed the day, don't forget to catch up. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, I understand, human are human, לא ניתנה תורה למלאכי השרת, but from the other hand, לא אתה בן חולים להיפטר ממנה. Don't call it quits. Don't tell, okay, that's it, I quit. No, you have to catch up. So show HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the same thing, אוהב כסף לא ישבע כסף. What does it mean? If you missed a deal one day, right? What do we do next day? The next day we run after the deal. You're going to try to bring it back. We're going to try to catch it up, right? If you really consider Torah as a deal that you made a HaKadosh Baruch Hu, try to catch it back. Try to bring this deal back. You lost 1 day of study, the next day learn double. And the Gemara says, Rava, para, yazif, upara. Rava, when he couldn't study Torah 1 day, says the Gemara, the next day he will catch up for the study that he couldn't get. So the idea is, לא אתה בן חורין להיפטר ממנה. You cannot say, I wanted, it didn't work out. Some people say, I don't have time. There's no such thing. This chiyuv kviut itim laTorah. This chiyuv. I saw something beautiful. There was a Rav called Mordechai, I forgot his last name. And if every 7 years he finishes the Shas, for many years, somebody told him, how did you reach that? So he said the following thing. One time I saw a rabbi that I knew, and I told him, I'm gonna start Daf Yomi. Oh, beautiful. When are you gonna start that? He told him Rosh Chodesh, I'm gonna start. Oh, but he told him Rosh Chodesh is in 3 days. Why are you gonna start in 3 days? Why can't you start today? He says, no, Rosh Chodesh is a good time, it's a beginning. He told him, Ani maftiach lecha, you're never gonna do it. He says, why? He says, if you could study today, you tell me in 3 days you're going to start, you're never going to do it. Yetzer Hara is going to find you something to do. He says the words were so strong that the same day he started Daf Yomi, it's already finishing the 3rd cycle of Daf Yomi. So to tell you, Ayom lasotam. You have to, exactly. Don't say tomorrow, whatever you can do today, right? You have 5 minutes, sit and learn. You have 10 minutes, sit and learn. You can do because mitzvot, you have 613. Talmud Torah is 1 mitzvah, but mitzvot is 613. Yetzer Hara is going to give you all the mitzvot in the world. Chesed, go here, tzedakah, go here. He doesn't want you to sit and learn. Sitting and learning, that's the only mitzvah Yetzer Hara doesn't let you. He's going to give you any mitzvah, right? Any mitzvah is going to, when you chesed, somebody needs you, go. But to sit and learn, this Yetzer Hara is never going to accept from you. So don't say, machar, tomorrow, Rosh Chodesh, את זו יפה, לא תנחשו ולא תעוננו. What does Rashi say? לא תנחשו ותעוננו. אל תאמר עונה זאת יפה לדבר זה. Don't say, ראש חודש, it's good to start. Don't say, in the morning it's good to start. You can do it now. Don't wait, not ראש חודש, not the morning, not the night. Do it right away. Right? Why? Because you never know if you're going to do it. So this is the limud. If we want to use the mitzvah of Shemitah, Shemitah, it's not... Chutz la'aretz, it's not nogea. You cannot do Shemitah, right? And even in Israel, you need a field to do the thing. But the thing is, we can apply the concept of Shemitah. What's the concept of Shemitah? Catching up in learning. If you use Shemitah as catching up in learning, so B'ezrat Hashem, that will be the zchut out of mitzvah of the Shemitah. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen.